everyone doing this morning? This table over here. All right, great. Okay. So we got to keep the energy up. Hopefully people had coffee. This is just another wonderful day for NACCE. So I want to thank you all for coming. It's great to see the room full. And we have some exciting things to do today that are a little bit different. So yesterday, we had a series of kind of TED-style talks, inspirational. Sorry, I just ran up to the stage. But we're going to begin this morning really by thinking about things in a more global way. And one of the things that I've enjoyed so much with NACCE and working with the NACCE board is really that opportunity to think more expansively about community colleges serving local communities, but also what can we do around the world, really to make an impact and to learn. It's not only important for our students, but it's important for us. So it is my great pleasure to welcome the first panel of the morning to the stage. So ladies, I'm going to ask you to come forward, and they're going to introduce themselves in a moment, but what we're very excited about this morning is really to kick off a series of discussions, and we're going to end with something amazing from VentureWell to get us started. So please come to the stage. Let's give them a warm welcome. Okay, so one of the things that's wonderful about NACCE is that we have the opportunity to not only partner very closely with community colleges, but also universities and also our corporate partners. So you're going to hear from one of them this morning, and our next panel will have another. So we're going to get started, and Marie, I'm going to start with you, and I'm followed by Linda and Debbie. So I want you to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about what you do, a little bit about your history, just to get us started and thinking about things in the context of our theme, which is the world is flat and powered by STEM.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky. I work at Fox Valley Technical College in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's a land of Green Bay Packers. Go Pack. And I oversee at the college, I'm Director of Global Education and Services, which includes a lot of things. One is campus internationalization projects, study abroad, academic work and global studies and world languages, and international trade training.
And Linda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. So pleased to be here. My name is Linda Gerber. I'm with the director of the Center for Global Business at University of Texas at Austin. And I've been involved in global education for a number of years. And what I'm excited to tell you more about is some of the resources that are available through the Department of Education cyber program. We have been a cyber for a number of years, and that's Center for International Business Education and Research. So looking forward to telling you more about that.
And Debbie, please.
Sure. I'm Debbie Ledbetter. I manage HP Life, which is an online business and IT course platform. And we have 29 courses in 7 languages, so we are used globally. Our users are from over 200 countries and territories. We work with UN agencies as well as NGOs to implement HP Life in many countries, but anyone can use HP Life. It is free for everybody to use.
Great. And how many HP Life users do we have in the room? Oh, there's lots of opportunity there. Our staff, particularly Leah Deppert, so if you don't mind, Leah, just stand up. She is kind of our resident expert. Yay, Leah. Pretty much on everything, but also on HP Life. So she does a lot of presentations and teaches courses, and she's taken some of the courses, as have I, and they're wonderful. So on that note, Debbie, let's start with you, because I know I've learned a lot from you just about what's important just around the world, and it's given me the courage to travel to China and do all kinds of interesting things. So why don't we begin and tell us about how really these kinds of projects are important to students. How does that allow them through the HP Life resources to really kind of pursue other kinds of projects. So anything that you would want to share with us to get us kind of inspired as we start in thinking about your resources?
Okay, so I'll just mention one thing that we do. So in addition to our 29 courses, so we have lots of business courses that really help increase business skills and just learning how to start up a small business. So, and we are used all over the world in community colleges and other projects around the world, which I'll talk about, I think, a little bit later. But in addition to our courses, one of the programs that we have is on social entrepreneurship. And so we have a yearly competition that's global, and we work with WorldSkills to do this. So teams apply, and we accept a certain number of teams every year, and they go through a program to solve social issues based on the UN SDGs. So, there may be social issues in their community or beyond their community, and they go through the program to ideate, prototype, and build a successful business model around solving this social issue. In addition to the program they go through, they get a coach, they get an HP mentor, and I get pretty high-level people from HP to mentor these teams. And we go through pitch competitions to narrow down who the winners are. And so we have, right now, 5 teams, 5 of the top teams headed to Amsterdam to present at WorldSkills General Assembly next week.
That's amazing. What a wonderful opportunity for students. And I know just in my own experience, just that ability to travel, Marie's going to talk about it a little bit more in her travels, but in her comments. But tell us about some of the things that you're doing in Nigeria and Egypt. I think you're in South Africa and India, so you don't have to tell us about everything, but maybe highlight a couple of things for us, especially for the faculty and people in the audience in terms of what you're doing there.
Sure. I'd love to. So in Tunisia, we started working with UNIDO, a UN agency, and really in Tunisia, the youth unemployment rate is 40%. So it's very difficult for young people to find jobs, and these are a lot of times university-educated youth. And so instead of finding a job, they have to create a company or create a business, a small business. And so the program that we have with UNIDO is helping those young people start small businesses. And in addition to the HP Life courses, they have people on the ground that does work with business plan consulting, coaching, but they also work with the Tunisian government because the government doesn't have a really small business friendly services, and it isn't easy to get funding. So they also work with the government to fix some of those issues. So we've been very successful in that program. I think the next slide actually shows that. There we go. So this is Tunisia, Nigeria. We started this program in 2013. It is with UNIDO and USAID. And so far, we've had over 25,000 Tunisians participate in the program. And the program is funded to 2022. And so you can see a couple of the success stories that we have. So I get success stories every month from the program. We have many of the success stories on our site. This program has been very successful, and that's the reason it's been funded through 2022. It has now been extended into Nigeria, and we've already had over 5,000 people in Nigeria take the program. And we're hoping very soon to actually have HP Life Centers in South Africa, also with UNIDO being the implementing partner.
That's great. That's wonderful. So you kind of shared a couple of stories. I don't know if you want to speak a bit about India as well.
So in India, we have the WOW buses. We call them the WOW buses. They're World on Wheels. There's 48 of them, and they're traveling classrooms. And so there's seating inside for 20 students plus an instructor. And they are traveling through rural India for youth to help them get jobs or get better jobs. And so they're teaching vocational skills, digital literacy, business skills to youth. And then we also have some what we call HP Future Classrooms, and those are stationary classrooms, again, to teach the same type of skills to help young people get better jobs. There also is community services that happen when the bus is there, so taking pictures for IDs, various things like that. So it's a really nice opportunity for young people. And then there's one more slide after this, and that's Myanmar. We've worked with USAID and Indiana University in Myanmar, which is a rapidly opening country economically and politically. Didn't have a lot of infrastructure inside the country, and so we actually opened 13 HP Life Centers to help start small businesses, but also to improve the university business education.
Great, that's wonderful. And I think just the curriculum that you have, a lot of the courses are really, they're in different languages, but it's the same content. Is that right?
It's the same content in 7 languages,
yeah, which
yes.
is wonderful, because you mentioned UN sustainability goals, and I know our Verizon team is going to talk a bit about that as well, along with their work. So, Linda, let's turn to you a little bit. You're from UT Austin, so we love our university partners. We have the ASU in the room and a couple other university folks with us. And one of the things I've learned about you that I find is very fascinating and very heartwarming is that you really have that commitment to work with community colleges. So when I'm talking with my board and we talk with people around the country, sometimes they look at NACCE and they say, we just do community colleges, and that's it's a heart, but it's not the whole thing. So I would love it if you would share with the audience a little bit about your passion for working with community colleges.
I'm happy to. In fact, this cyber program, which I'm a part of, has been going on for nearly 30 years. So it's an older program, and the purpose of it was to internationalize business education and create national resource centers across the U.S. And all of the centers were initially 4-year institutions and have continued to be only 4-year institutions that are involved in this. And the initial focus had really been internationalizing the local university that received the program and creating pilot programs and models that could be exported elsewhere. But over the years, as I think the program has been very successful in doing that and reaching out to other populations, sometimes K-12, sometimes to other 4-year institutions, particularly minority-serving institutions have been very popular as well, popular in terms of developing programs. But one of the things I've noticed over the last 4 years is that there's a gap here. We're serving 4-year institutions, but as I know I'm preaching to the choir when I tell you it's the community colleges that are the lifeline out into economic development and creating jobs and creating the kind of skills that are going to be so necessary for our industries going forward, wherever we are. And so I have increasingly tried to become interested in how we can partner with the resources we've developed with community colleges and to keep the link between 4-year institutions and community colleges active, and we can be informed about how the programs and resources we develop can be adapted to the needs of community colleges.
That's wonderful. And Debbie had mentioned the HP Life resources, which are open source. And Linda, you also have open source videos in 8 languages, I understand. So tell us about that, and for the faculty in the room, how they might take advantage of those and use them in their work.
Certainly. One of the things we built up over the years with a wonderful faculty member who's very passionate about business language resources, he has a library, he's created a library of over 1,000 videos that have business people in various countries around the world talking about doing business in their native language. And so for a language learner, what this is a resource where you can see the way the terminology is used. It's much more alive, and it also has incredible cultural benefits because you'll have someone from Germany talking in German about how do you find doing business with people from the United States is different than doing business in Germany. And then you can have the same person, or excuse the same question to a business person from China and a business person from Brazil and a business person from Japan. And you start to pick up these really wonderful cultural differences. Now, of course, these are native speakers speaking in their own language, but there's simultaneous translation along with this. And so it's great for not only language learning and educators, but it's also wonderful to pick up cultural nuances and differences that can help people when they're doing business across borders.
That's wonderful. And one other little point, we don't have a lot of time to discuss it, but you and I have discussed it along with Leah, is really the importance of women in entrepreneurship, and it's something that's obviously very important to me. It's extremely important to our another key partner, Verizon. So maybe just share with us a thought or two about what you see as maybe a future possibility for really igniting entrepreneurship among women, particularly with the University Community College connection.
Well, we have developed, of course, we're international business education, so we've developed resources that are designed to help entrepreneurs identify and exploit global markets. So we have exporting programs for entrepreneurs. What we are seeing, though, if we want to have a big impact on the job force and economic development, is that so many of small businesses now are started by women, and we partner with different groups. One is Empowering a Billion Women by 2020, which is one of the graduates of UT MBA program who started this incredible network, hundreds of chapters around the world. And the idea is to build entrepreneurial competence among women. Well, we want to add the exporting dimension in there because all of our research indicates that women approach business decisions differently than do men. Of course, I'm making a generalization here, and I recognize this doesn't apply to everyone, but there are differences, there's different challenges, there's different mindsets, and what we want to do is figure out how can we adapt our materials so they're much more appropriate for this segment of the population where real economic potential is there.
That's great. And we have some resources that we're just showing on the screen for people that want to get more information. The other thing that we'll do too with all of our panelists is we're going to be sharing these things out. So if you don't have a chance to get all that down, not to worry. But just in the time that we have too, I want to really get into a conversation as well with Dr. Marie Martin, who is actually from another country too, and I've learned a little bit about her background in on the corporate side, but also she works on the campus of Fox Valley Community and Technical College, and a number of the members and I had a chance to go there right before Memorial Day and host a representative delegation from Zhejiang University, which was very exciting. It was sort of my own entrepreneurial journey and I guess courage, going around the world, and had never been to China before. And I came back and I was so inspired by what I learned and the opportunity at Zhejiang University, which, if you don't know, it's the oldest university in China. And oddly enough, I was traveling with people from MIT and universities, and all they wanted to talk about was community colleges and NACCE because they really see the value of that. So, Marie, you do a lot of different things, not only with NACCE, but attracting students, international students from around the world. So I'd love it as we go through here for you just to begin and tell us a little bit about your recruitment efforts. How do you do that with students?
Sure. Thank you, Linda. Yes, you know, global and entrepreneurship, any kind of global work and entrepreneurship belong in one sentence. Our work is really very well supported by the colleges, Fox Valley Technical College's entrepreneurial culture. We have systems and we have processes that allow us to adjust to the needs of people from a variety of countries. Becky, you talked about traveling to other countries, hosting international students on campus. You know, we understand what it takes to leave your country, to leave your family, and come and study in another culture in another country. The song we heard yesterday, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," it certainly is true for my personal life as well as for the life of our students. So we recruit, international student recruitment is a part of our campus internationalization strategy. Our goal is to prepare graduates working in the global economy. And of course, we focus, as any community college, we focus on our local constituents, local companies. And we have, it's a great manufacturing base where we are. We have a number of companies that are foreign-owned as well as American companies that operate internationally. Well, in order for our students, who you know may not have the resources to travel abroad with us, although we do provide those opportunities, we bring international students to campus, and then our students get an opportunity to mingle and meet someone from another culture. International students' needs are often very ambitious. You know, they want to come to the United States, and they go back to their countries, and they continue on their professional and educational journey and achieve a lot of success. We've had our international students who became mayors, who became governors, company presidents, and they actually promote a two-year educational system, American two-year educational system in their own countries. We face a lot of problems when we go internationally because in other countries, two-year colleges as a higher educational system often doesn't exist. They may have two-year colleges, but they call they vocational colleges, and what they call them terminal. You can't advance to a university, you can't transition to a four-year degree after many of these colleges. So we have to dispel the myth when we travel internationally. And here you see some student success stories. A student from Bangladesh graduated from our program and began to work. She began to work in Hong Kong. A student from Brazil started his own IT firm. A student from South Africa also started his own firm. And the woman from Turkmenistan went to work for the World Health Organization. So all pretty important and big posts after our two-year degree. So how do we do that? We can advance the slide. Students, we listen to the students and what they want. And our main goal is to provide that experience they're looking for. In order for us to do that, we don't try to fit those students into our college, necessarily educational systems. There is a lot of flexibility in what we can do, and that's our college entrepreneurial culture helps in that. Students come here for the American experience, entrepreneurship, learning from American businesses, and also learn English, and experience everything that there is here to do. So we do a lot of activities with the students where we also invite American students. Our instructors tell us that having international students on campus changes their classroom. They have deeper conversations about the bigger world out there. Everybody wants to change the world today, whether we look at it locally or globally. We bring that piece of the world, piece of our planet to our campus. Here you see our students in Chicago, then we go on leadership camps. We go to local farms to experience our Halloween and pumpkin patch and all of those great things.
That's wonderful. And just seeing the resources on your college, and I think one of the things that often surprises people, a couple of weeks ago, NACCE had a Go West Summit. We had 200 people from all over California. We partnered with Lemelson MIT, so a lot of the academic faculty, the dean of the engineering school, who is also the founder, the creator of the 3D printer, was there, and it was very interesting because initially I think didn't really understand community colleges, and we had a panel where we had MIT alumni sitting right next to Sierra College students, community college students, and all of them had created things. And forgive me because I keep repeating this story, but it's so impactful. Seeing the students speak and talk about their inventions and their creations, you could not have told the difference between the MIT graduates and the community college students, and that was affirmed to me when Dr. Michael Sima came up to me and he said, I'm just, speechless practically at what is going on. And I think the work that you do, Marie, and certainly the resources, Linda and Debbie, that you provide are very important to all of us in doing this work. We just have a couple of quick minutes, so I just maybe want to take one or two questions. So I don't know if anyone had a question for the panel just about global entrepreneurship. If you're not having a program, how do you get started? So I'll maybe turn to my good friends at the front of the table, and you can ask one question, and we'll have our panel members respond to it.
Okay. So first of all, I want to thank the three of you for sharing all of that information, and in particular the resources. That was really awesome. The question I have for you is, one of the benefits, I think, of what you're speaking to is the ability to develop deeper empathy within the classroom among students, but also to make educators better educators by understanding the differences that exist. Have you seen any signs of collaboration between students in your programs that have fueled innovation, led to businesses being formed or projects that really are transformative? Can you give us any kind of case example?
That might be from Marie. Okay.
I could speak to that. We had a student from Pakistan. We have students from over 50 countries, about 50 countries on campus right now, so great diversity. That student studied natural resources and agriculture. He shared with our faculty that they wanted to grow a certain type of gourd that gets dried out, and it's their national food staple. So our instructor helped in that, and that actually started several years of conversations, and they're good friends. Many of our students and faculty stay in touch with each other domestically and internationally. On Facebook, we have, and they come to us and tell us about their great exchanges. International students, as I said, want to start their own businesses, so they reach out to our faculty all the time. That's Africa, Asia, Middle East, Europe, Central and Latin America, all over the world.
Okay. Just hold that thought, because I want to make sure that we have enough time for everyone, but thank you, Andy. So I just want to thank all of you for the work that you do. I also want to thank you for your partnership with NACCE. It's wonderful to work with such strong women who are not only leaders, but our friends and care so deeply about our students. So let's give them a wonderful round of applause, and thank you for your thought leadership.
And Becky, if I can just comment that you all saw the slides go by with the different examples of programs, and I'm actually doing a session at 11:30 where we'll dig into some of those, but if you're not attending to that, because there's a lot of other good programs as well, when they get the resources, there are links, clickable links to all those resources that we talked about, so you can get a better feel for what's
And we'll
there.
share those out too. Leah does a wonderful job with our communication, so we'll make sure that everyone gets that. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Getting us started this morning. Right, so it's my pleasure to welcome up our next panel, who are just doing some amazing things. I could talk about it all day long, but I do not want to take any of their time. So I'd ask first for Phil Puthumana, who is a program manager for the Verizon Foundation, to come forward and get us started.
All right, thank you, Dr. Corbin. So good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Puthumana, and I'm a manager of education programs for the Verizon Foundation. I'm excited to be here today to provide an update on our Rural Girls program. Many of you may have heard of it. I know last year we piloted it, so I'm here to kind of give you where we are today. I'd like to start by thanking NACCE, which has been a wonderful partner to us over the past 1.5 years in administering the program. Huge thank you to Dr. Corbin and the entire NACCE team, who I work with pretty closely, for all your help and support. Now, allow me to provide some background on corporate responsibility at Verizon. So, our strategic intent is to share our success with the community to make the world a better place. Our brand, we want to deliver the promise of the digital world to give people the ability to do more and to do more good. Our focus is really on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We talked a lot about that. We started last year. We actually started a couple years ago on really thinking about what sustainable development goals are important to us as an organization and how can we teach children that. So we actually came to two that are really our strategic focus. So we focus on SDG 4, which is really around education, and really focused on under-resourced youth. How do we get to the kids who don't have the resources that many of us have? And then in SDG 8, it's really about sustainability, and we're trying to think through that from every aspect of Verizon, from our own corporate facilities. We have over 150,000 employees all over the world, but even to our supply chain and all our companies that we work with. Our biggest initiative at the foundation is around education. It's something called Verizon Innovative Learning, and we've committed more resources this year as well to about a $400 million investment, and we've taught about 1 million students to date, and that we're really trying to ramp that up in the next few years. We want to really increase that to another 2 million. So we're quite busy at home. But our goal is really to give free tech, free access, as well as innovative curriculum and teacher training. So we don't want to just give tablets to a school. We really do want to give a lot more to it and really help teachers use that technology properly. The Innovative Learning Rural Girls program, which I'm here to talk about, our aspiration is really to provide the only exploratory project-based learning experience of its kind that uses next-gen technology to provide underrepresented students in middle school, girls living in remote and rural areas of the U.S. to positively impact themselves and their communities. As I talked about the SDGs, our goal is really to bring that SDG to life and to see how a global problem actually impacts them in their own communities. So when we think of what the program is really about, we focus on next-gen tech skills. So what are those? So the way we look at it, 3D printing and 3D design are pretty important, especially in additive manufacturing, as you're seeing. Augmented reality and virtual reality, again, we're really on the very beginning of that. What you've seen out there, I think, is just the beginning of what we're going to be able to see, long run, when it's like Mission Impossible or something. And entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is very key to us, and it's going to be something that, as we're working closely with Dr. Corbin's team on how do we bring entrepreneurship to be even more out front for the kids. We are going to be pairing students with mentors. That's something we're talking through right now. And again, as I talked about the Sustainable Development Goals. So how have the results been? The results have been amazing. So our partner SRI is here, and we work closely with them on really evaluating the depth of these programs. Being in a corporate structure, everything's about, how is this program efficient and effective? As you can see, our results have been outstanding. So 92% of the participants are more aware of a variety of STEM careers. That's a huge focus for us in middle school. 93% increase their ability to solve complex problems, right? If you think about one of the key skills right now in the workforce, that's really one of the key skills for all of us. And 98% increase their interest in attending an institution of higher learning. So that's a big win for us. So where are our programs? We actually have 16 campus partners. So when I talk about our results, they're really results brought to us by our partners. So I'd like to recognize their hard work. So I'm going to name them out, and then at the end, if they could all stand, so we could give them a round of applause. So we have Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, Florida. Okay. Actually, if you could hold the applause till the end, that may be better, because I only have limited time. Patrick Henry Community College, one of our pilot schools in Martinsville, Virginia. Paul D. Camp Community College in Franklin, Virginia, again, another pilot school. Prince George's Community College in Largo, Maryland. Roane State Community College in Harriman, Tennessee, Big Sandy Community and Technical College in Prestonsburg, Kentucky, Mid-Michigan Community College in Harrison, Michigan, Shawnee State University in Portsmouth, Ohio, Central Community College in Columbus, Nebraska, Independence Community College in Independence, Kansas, North Iowa Area Community College, another pilot school in Mason City, Iowa, Western Iowa Tech Community College, another pilot school, Sioux City, Iowa, Austin Community College right here in Texas, Austin, Texas, South Arkansas Community College in El Dorado, Arkansas, Rogue Community College in Grants Pass, Oregon, and San Joaquin Delta College in Stockton, California. If those campuses are here, could you please stand and let's give them all a round of applause. Okay, thank you. Should we could roll the video?
When I heard about the camp, I was very, very excited.
You get to use 3D printing and you get to code a lot more than you do in regular school.
The Verizon Innovative Learning Program is a camp for girls where they learn STEM activities and skills like 3D printing, coding, virtual reality, entrepreneurship.
Camp is way different from school. At school, we don't get to do a lot of this stuff, but here, it's just fun. It really is cool that it's all girls. We help each other and we tell each other that we can do this.
It's very important to be confident in whatever you do. If you have confidence in yourself, it doesn't matter what other people think.
Programs like this one are vital, specifically in places that are in rural America. We recognize that there is a need in terms of women in STEM, and we recognize that there's a solution.
Many people have told me that STEM isn't right for me, it's more of a boys thing. I just tell them, okay, thank you for your feedback.
It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter how many times you planned it didn't work. It matters if you put your mind to it and you do it.
My daughter is also in the camp, but I just get inspired about the opportunities that could mean for her. I just want her to have that confidence and have the ability to know that she can do anything that she wants.
What I want to do in the future is to be a doctor to help other people. What I want to do when I grow up is become a NASA engineer.
I want to help cure cancer. I'm going to be a doctor.
So with that, I'd like to introduce our panel of our esteemed colleagues here. I'll have each of you, you want to go ahead and just give us an idea of your background and a little bit about yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is June Evans. I'm the director for the Center for Entrepreneurial Development and Training at Prince George's Community College, and I'm also the camp director for the Verizon Innovative Learning Program.
Good morning. I'm Doris Lex with Central Community College in Columbus, Nebraska, and I'm the director of the Entrepreneurship Center and also the camp director for Verizon STEM.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Kemper-Pell. I'm president of Rogue Community College in Southern Oregon, and I am very passionate about STEM. I had a career in STEM before moving into education.
Good morning, I'm Dana Thorpe Patterson. I'm the Director of Continuing Education and Workforce Development at Rogue Community College and the Training Center Coordinator for American Heart Association programming as well. And this summer I had the privilege to be a new camp director for the Verizon Innovative Learning Grant as well.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So Doris, I'll start with you. You delayed your retirement so you could lead this effort at CCC. So could you share with us a brief story about the impact that this program had for the 100 girls that participated in your program?
Certainly. Becky and I had a evening after our last session a year ago. And she talked about this awesome opportunity for young people. And it wasn't out of my realm because I've done middle school camps for entrepreneurship for the last 14 years. And I sat on the edge of my chair and I'm going, oh yes, yes, my girls need, oh yes, we need this. And then she said, well, we have 25 college has already applied. And I go, oh, okay. and then she looked at me and she says, are you interested? Yes, I am. And retirement wasn't even in my back of my mind at that point. I wanted to help these girls learn what they could do with their lives and get them exposed to that. And when I took it back to our campus, of course, they said, well, the only way we're going to do this is if you stay. And then maybe reality hit a little bit, but I said, yeah, I didn't even think twice, absolutely. Because it was such a pleasure. And the teachers, we had teachers, and we called them coaches, other people called them mentors, and all of them were from middle school, and they actually came up to me after I did the presentations and asked if they could be part of it. So everybody from the University of Nebraska, Extension, everybody, the minute you mention middle school girls, STEM, they are in.
Excellent. So we're glad you delayed your retirement.
Thank you.
Dr. Kemper-Pell, why did your college decide to be part of the Verizon Innovative Learning Program?
Well, Becky Corbin cornered me at the conference last year also.
There's a theme, right?
There is. It was really fascinating to me that it ticked off so many boxes on things that we're trying to accomplish in our area. We serve a predominantly rural community in one of our counties that is very, very underprivileged. The opportunities for STEM for all students are very, very limited. And this opportunity for girls in particular was really exciting because we see a pretty significant bias towards boys' education in our area. So this was an exciting opportunity. We are really working hard to move people out of multi-generational poverty and into living wage jobs. And the jobs in our area are the fastest growing sectors are in STEM. So this looked like a really great opportunity. We also had a very willing partner in Boys and Girls Club, which we were very excited to work with on this project.
Okay, thank you. So on that note, Dana, would you give us a little background on the partnership with Boys and Girls Club and how that was an integral part of running your camp?
Would love to. I know speaking with many of you this week, we struggled with some of the same challenges that you all faced, and that was in transporting 100 girls to your campus every day for 3 weeks and feeding them. And as Dr. Kemper-Pell mentioned, we enjoy a wonderful relationship with Rogue Valley Boys and Girls Club. And in fact, our institutional research director is married to the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, so that helped a little. But the conversation started very organically on how could they help and support, and we worked out a wonderful memorandum of agreement where they became our hub for the girls to meet every morning, and they would transport them by their bus to our campus. But not only that, they fed them breakfast, and then they brought lunch for them as well. The bus driver stayed in our camp during the day and actually helped in the classroom. So we had the added bonus of another person who was getting familiar with these girls. And a kind of an unseen or unforeseen added value for our girls was that after we made our agreement with the Boys and Girls Club, we realized that in order for the girls to ride their bus, they needed to be a member of the Boys and Girls Club for their liability purposes. So we folded in that membership for 1 year with these girls. So now they're not only connected to our college as our future students coming back, but they're connected to a wonderful community organization that will not only embrace STEM and STEAM concepts, but they provide those wonderful experiences for our youth and community to come in and utilize the resources, learning to socialize, collaborate, become good citizens, and as we all know, we get some great leaders from Boys and Girls Club too. So that just became a fantastic partnership, and we've continued that through the year with our post camps. We're working with some of their staff who are teaching in the classroom for us now.
That's actually a really great story because for us, we're partnered pretty deeply with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and I actually brought this story to them to tell them how your partnership has been. So they've been really interested in kind of exploring that and seeing what it means. So great job on that. So June, want to go to you. And many people think of the area around DC and Baltimore as actually pretty urban, right? You served a group of girls from rural areas this summer. Could you share a few stories of how this camp impacted them?
Yes, absolutely. Initially, when the opportunity was presented to us, we felt that this was going to be a challenge for us, but we knew that there was a segment within Prince George's County that struggles with equity in education. It is considered the southern part of our county where we have literally maybe one school. There's a lot of, they don't have access to rec centers. They still operate on well water. And so we've always struggled as an institution to reach that population. So this allowed us an opportunity to figure out how we were going to bridge those gaps and get rid of those barriers. And I can say that with the partnerships with the school system, we were able to really tap into some of our southern areas and even beyond Prince George's County, some of the areas that were rural, that bordered Prince George's County. When they heard about this opportunity, they responded overwhelmingly with a great response. And so we were able to transport them to the college, and most of them never missed a day.
That's fantastic. So Doris, I'm going to go back to you. You actually had a very diverse group of girls in your camp. Many of them are from Spanish-speaking homes whose parents are from other countries. Could you tell us a little bit about why a program like this is so important to them?
Absolutely, thank you. Our population is about 20,000 in our large community, and then our smaller communities around are anywhere from 200 to 5,000 population. We have 3 meatpacking plants in the community, in those communities. So that brings a lot of the Southern Hemisphere Hispanic-speaking people to our communities. Our neighbor community, their middle school population is 97% non-Caucasian. So that, it's just all natural for me anymore, and unfortunately I don't speak Spanish. But these young people came to this country. English is their second language, but they don't miss a beat. They saw the opportunity of this could be out of, not what their parents are doing. They admire their parents and respect them, and their parents want them to do more than working in a meatpacking plant. And so this was an opportunity for them to learn skills, at least get the opportunity to understand that there's something else out there for them. I had parents come up to me and said, our child that isn't always, wanting to get up in the morning and go to school. They said we didn't have to wake them at one day of the 3 weeks of the camp. I had another parent that said, our child never talks to us about what their school day is like. We couldn't get her quiet from the moment she walked in the door to the moment she went to bed. That's the impact that this STEM project and camp has on these young people. They eat it up like a sponge. You only have to offer it, and it's like M&Ms. You can't stop with just one.
It's a good analogy. So I think, when I go to visit a lot of schools like Doris and June are speaking about, I get to see the excitement of the kids. And for us, if it's not engaging, there's an issue. And it's we're trying to figure out what that issue is. And sometimes it's small things, but we really do try to make the experience a little different than what they experience in the K-12 day. So it's really nice to hear about kids who may not have wanted to go and then they couldn't stay away from it. And also, a couple points you both made about different things that they've had to kind of learn about the kids. Our goal was really to get out there for under-resourced and underserved kids. And initially I started a program for minority males with HBCUs and HSIs a few years ago. which this kind of came from. And that one, I thought, oh, let's teach kids tech. It'll be really fun. I thought that would be the simplest part of it. And it really is the simplest part of it. It's actually so much more complex on all the different facets of helping integrate the kids into broader education. So, Dr. Kemper-Pell, as a president, what have you found that's most helpful to your community in being a part of our program?
I think this program has really opened up lines of communication with our rural communities about what more can we do. The boys were pretty vocal about the fact that they want this too. And the level of excitement when you walked into a classroom and saw how much fun these girls were having and how interested they were in meeting kids from other school districts. The team building and the personal development part of this is really powerful. And I think middle school is a great age to start that work, because that's what's ultimately going to help them develop the work skills they need, the soft skills they need to be successful and be employable. So, we're looking at ways that we can build that into other programming and expand our outreach into these communities.
I mean, for us to hear that is really great, because that's really the goal of a lot of these programs, is to kind of seed it into communities and see what can grow up from it. And Dr. Corbin and I and her team, we've been talking a lot about how do we expand other facets of the program, so it's not, as you mentioned, about personal development, about teaching them to do presentations, right, to come up and speak to groups, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't I give it out to the crowd a little bit? We have a couple minutes here. If anybody has any specific questions of these four, and many of their representative campuses are here, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Oh, okay, there you are. Sure.
First off, I want to thank you for this program. I want to thank you for this program. I think it's wonderful that the Verizon Foundation is supporting this, and all of you all have worked on this. My question is, you kind of alluded to it, but why middle school girls? I have certain ideas there, but why do you think that's such a good target, and how does it work into your institution?
So I'll just answer that from the Verizon side, and then I'll have the educators speak to it. From our side, we really decided our corporate philanthropy and education really should be focused on the middle school segment. Because what we found is when we went out to work with a variety of different partners, we often found programs for other age groups. So it was easier for us to find programs sometimes for pre-K, or sometimes for kids who are just about graduating or who haven't graduated high school. And a lot of times from a corporate strategy, it's often easier to show that a student is, they weren't graduating and now they're on track. So for us, we decided let's invest really young, because we think we can make a difference in terms of STEM. But, we won't see the results of that for a long time, but that's really our kind of corporate strategy. But go ahead. Yeah.
Originally, I was a little hesitant to accept this opportunity, but what really kept nagging at me and pushing me to do it was the fact that it targeted middle school girls. I recall one year, I have a high schooler, and I remember when she graduated from elementary and was going into middle school, and her English teacher gave a presentation, and she said that now is the time in middle school, it's when the students start to define who they are. They start to really come into their own. They start to really know the type of person they want to be, the type of crowd they want to hang around with. They kind of start aligning with certain things. And that really struck me. So I knew that as a college, we had to reach middle school students, because that's a critical time in their life when they start to say, I want to be this, or I want to go into this field. And we have to grab them then. If we can grab them at that time and get them interested to say, I can do STEM, I can be a doctor, I can be an engineer, then we got them. And so that, to me, was a critical time, and I just needed to jump on that.
That's what I wanted to say.
And I agree totally, was my reason for going into middle school. Once you hit high school, you've kind of set your own path. And if you're not aware that STEM is something that you could look at, you don't know that that path is there for you. And so that's why I would say middle school is a good spot to start.
I would agree also, and I think that math in particular is sort of the foundation of STEM, and if we can get students interested in STEM while they're in middle school, we can get them on a good math pathway that'll get them college ready while they're in high school.
So my thoughts on that would be, coming from a background of a long-time continuing ed director and running lots of kids' college programs over the years, what I find in particular with reaching out to these girls in rural areas, and I grew up in rural Alaska, so I can really relate to the lack of resources and mentors and people to get me on that path, was the ability to flip a script for these girls. Day one, I asked all of our girls how many had planned to come to college one day, and only 3 or 4 girls out of the group raised their hand. At the end of the camp, I asked them the same question, and all of them raised their hand. So if we go from if I go to college to when I go to college, we've made an impact on those girls' lives, and we're going to see them again down the road in lots of different programs that we do.
All right, so I'd like to thank all of our partners in this program, including everyone who's out there who works with us. Thank you.
Polk County is one of the counties that you don't think about very much. It's really not very important.
I was in the Stone Ages as much as technology-wise, and I would say I had nothing.
You become a school teacher for one reason: you love kids. And so you don't have the same tools, you don't always believe that you have the same outcomes achievable for yourself.
When we got the tablets, it changed everything.
By giving them that technology and then marrying it with a curriculum that's designed to have technology at the heart of it, we are really changing the way that students learn.
And I can't wait for 10 years from now when I get to talk to them again and see like who they are.
Good morning. Very pleased to be here with you this morning and to stand on the fabulous work that folks have done this morning in setting up what I'm going to talk to you about today: how to build an innovator. In our work at VentureWell, an educational nonprofit that focuses on stimulating and supporting technology innovation, entrepreneurship, and invention through higher education and working with research institutions, philanthropies, and government agencies, we've had the opportunity to reach thousands of people and to reach institutions across the world and engage them in a process that helps to build skills and provides the foundation for the companies of tomorrow. I want to talk to you about this work and share with you some examples of how we go about training and developing people who are prepared to take on the challenges of the next century. Trying to get this to advance here. So in thinking about a conscious and deliberate effort to engage someone in an experience that's going to help them to become an innovator and help them to be prepared to take action on their ideas, these are some of the key characteristics that we believe you need to focus on. And I believe these are all things that can be set up for, encouraged, developed, and supported within an educational environment. The first is creating intrinsic motivation through providing a sense of autonomy, control over an idea to take it forward, connected with purpose, trying to make some kind of change or impact in the real world, and doing it in a way in which it's part of the development of a curve of mastery, of becoming familiar with the skills and putting them to practice. The second is creative thinking. Now, creative thinking is something that you may think of as being somewhat innate, but actually it's a set of skills that can be taught, and we've seen some of those skills being taught here right in this conference. But when you connect a creative problem-solving approach with meaningful problems, you can actually engage people in a way that sets them up for greater things to come. The next key attribute is the ability to communicate the idea and inspire others, both in a verbal form and also in tangible forms, to design it as a product, to embody it in a way that other people can engage with and get excited about. And finally, and I think most connected to the core focus of this conference, to take entrepreneurial action, to lean into and move forward with ideas. So the attributes of innovators listed here are probably things that you would agree are part of the problem-solving and creative approach. But there's also a need for both analytical skills, for the ability to take that analysis and synthesize it, communicate it to others, and move it forward through an entrepreneurial process. At the core of the work here we've been talking about is entrepreneurship. And I think you'll probably agree with me that entrepreneurs are capable of seeing opportunity, sometimes where others don't see it, sometimes where there's a problem, and seeing that in a way that they're able to translate into something that can move forward. They learn from their experiences and build their success on the foundations of things that have not worked, to take their failures and think differently about paths to reaching success and achieving some impact on the world. And again, importantly, they have the ability to communicate that vision, to engage others, to get them to empathize with and be willing to embrace new approaches and new ideas. You'll probably agree with most of these attributes, and you can see that there are many that overlap with the things you're looking to do when you're creating an innovator. But importantly, there's a social dimension to entrepreneurship without which you really can't get started. And that's the ability to both engage and excite others with your vision and to connect with them in ways that enable them to take action on your behalf. So it's a socially oriented activity and one that is best taught in a socially engaged way. In our work, we think of this best being accomplished in an experiential path. Now you can see on the left here, you could study the route to climb a mountain. You could study and learn about the skills involved with climbing a route like this. But until you've actually attempted it and put those skills together in a way that flows, you really aren't going to understand and be ready to take on the next climb. So in our work, we embrace an experiential approach in which the act of doing is the art of learning. At VentureWell, we engage our partners around the country and around the world in transformative experiences that are focused on pursuing a real-world goal of taking an idea forward and attempting to make it into a success in the world. To start with an innovation, sometimes a wild, crazy idea, and to cultivate that through a process that provides support, provides the knowledge components, and engages and embraces the challenges that lie along this pathway. We began this work about 22 years ago, and it was actually the invention of Jerry Lemelson, who was a very successful and prominent inventor. One of his great inventions was something that we call the E-Team, a process for enabling a team of people to move forward with an idea and to use that as a core central construct of their learning. We've been doing this work for about 22 years around the world, engaging with hundreds of institutions in a process that takes the innovator or would-be innovator from idea through to impact. We do it by supporting the team, sometimes with funding, but always with training and an environment that includes both faculty instruction and mentorship and advisors from outside the academic world. It uses an experiential approach grounded in taking an idea and moving it through the process of validation, developing a model for scaling it, and moving that forward supported by and surrounded by experts, mentors, advisors, and a group of peers for a collective learning experience. We do this work with students in the E-Teams program in 3 stages, and these stages are both separable and repeatable. So in the first stage, the idea is to pursue a brilliant innovation. Find the best one you can. Try and take it forward. Pivot as necessary. But if you can find something and validate that in the marketplace, to then move on to a next stage where we can provide funding, support, and training to move the idea into the creation of a business, modeling it and testing that model with actual customers, ideally hundreds of customers, and getting a grounding and the basis for proving the value of that idea. For those that can prove that idea, we provide support to garner investment and partnerships and move into launch of a business. This process has successfully launched many, many companies. And in our work, we've gone from a great deal of skepticism in higher education, particularly in the STEM fields, as to whether this was a good idea. Is it even appropriate to encourage students to try to start a business while they're in school, to actually having many, many proof points that in fact it does work. And even for the students who don't wind up with a successful company, they wind up with an experience that's deep and transformative. Through this work, we've succeeded in launching hundreds of companies, working with thousands of faculty who've created hundreds of programs that nurture the early stage of this process through training, through providing the educational context, and through setting up the environment to support and nurture these early stage companies. These companies have raised over $500 million in private investment and have provided a model for many others to follow. These programs have now been translated into scalable forms, which are being used by major funding organizations to support their innovators from STEM. I'll give you a couple of examples of some of the companies formed by students. First one, Ecovative, was started by these 2 gentlemen in the photo, Gavin and Eben, when they were second-year students at RPI. They came up with an idea for taking a mycelial fungal vegetative stage, so the fuzzy white stuff in a mushroom, and turning it into a replacement for all sorts of polymers. They now have developed applications and products for this, replacing packaging, building materials, and even a form of synthetic leather that's being used in high-end designer handbags. Their idea is transforming industries, and they're doing it in partnership with Fortune 50 companies around the world. They've been working on this product for 8 years now. They now are adults and mentors to other young innovators in their community, and they've created a company that employs over 100 people near Albany, New York. Next example is a materials company, Mito, more recent portfolio investment, that took an ingredient that can dramatically transform the strength of composite materials and developed it as a product that's being used now in the transportation and aeronautics industry, again, to really transform what you can do with materials and lightweight, all sorts of different kinds of products. In the course of about a year and a half, they went from an idea stage to the launch of their company. While they were students, they created their own jobs. And your students can do this too. So I invite you to come join us as we build the next generation of inventors, innovators, and entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I just wanted to say we're running a little bit late here, but we really wanted to make sure we squeezed in our last speaker today. So I'll invite David Zasada up to the stage right now. He is from Intuit, and I've had the pleasure of working with Intuit Education for the past couple years. And so David's going to share a little bit about their work, as well as some exciting updates as well. So let's welcome David to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning. Hopefully you still have a little bit of energy left. Okay, so quick note. So I'm a marathoner, and I ran the Chicago Marathon just a couple of days ago. So I know this. Thank you. Appreciate that. I felt pretty good. I should do that again. But at any rate, I didn't say how well I did, by the way. But at any rate, I got through it. But no, so I kind of feel like in some ways these opening sessions can sometimes feel like a little bit of a marathon. You start out real strong, a lot of great content and everything, and then you get to the last speaker, and it's like mile 23. And I don't know, and I can tell you to mile 23 when I have my playlist going, ahead of time, it's all this like really upbeat music, but really when you get there and you're a runner, all you hear is blah, 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 blah. So I hope being your mile 23 speaker, I will not be blah, 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 blah. So, but just a few minutes left, I wanted to just chat a little bit about Intuit. Hopefully we can advance the slides. Here we go. Okay, so Intuit's excited to be back and continue our support of NACCE, great organization. We've learned a lot in partnering with them. And at Intuit, our mission is to power prosperity around the world. And the way we do that is in a couple of ways in particular. One is through the products that we offer, which include products that you might have heard of, including QuickBooks and TurboTax and Mint and Turbo, used by over 50 million individuals all around the world. And then we also do so by sharing our innovation process that we use that really helps Intuit, even though we're a veteran on the block when it comes to Silicon Valley. We've been around for 35 years. We really operate like we're still a startup, so we consider ourselves a 35-year-old startup. And part of the way we do that is through the innovation tools and processes that we use. It's really baked into our values and in the methods that we use. And those include first of all, something we called customer-driven innovation. So what that helps us do is it helps us make sure we stay really focused on the big problems that we're trying to solve. So that's kind of fundamental to what everyone does within Intuit. And then we try to solve those big problems through a design thinking process that we use called Design for Delight. And in Design for Delight, when you're using that process, you're really first focused on customer empathy, first and foremost, before you start thinking about what type of ideas I have in terms of how to try to solve those problems, and then running rapid experimentation in order to try to test those ideas that you have. That process has worked really well for us as the business itself has been reinvented a number of times over the course of its life. And so we spend quite a bit of time sharing that process out with partners of ours from corporations as well as of all sizes, as well as with individuals. The education group within Intuit, who we're here representing, actually was formed just over a year or so ago. And our focus ultimately is in a couple of primary themes. One is career readiness, and the other is in financial readiness. And when we're looking at career readiness and financial readiness, we're really focused on problems that we believe can negatively impact the future prosperity of students. And so what you see up here on the screen are some of those problems that are well-documented problems that students themselves have that could really derail them and prevent them from really maximizing their potential and being prosperous down the road. And in particular, what we're focused on right now is the 21st century skills gap and financial literacy. And in both cases, the way we try to solve those particular problems is by first and foremost making our products available for free to institutions and to students in order to kind of help them address both of those different areas. And then the other way that we do that, and so we do that in both 2-year and 4-year colleges as well as high schools. And so as an example, QuickBooks is available for free for educators or for students to use, whether it's in a QuickBooks course that's already been established or whether that's being incorporated into an accounting or a bookkeeping or an entrepreneurship course. So if, and that's taking place in thousands of institutions around the country. If you don't happen to be aware of that particular program, we invite you to stop by the booth or go to our session at 9:45 to learn a little bit more about that. But then the other thing that we do is we also incorporate our design thinking process, Design for Delight, into entrepreneurship curriculum, as well as other business courses. And one example of that is a partnership that we have with an organization called Virtual Enterprises. Now, Virtual Enterprises, if you're not familiar with them, is a nonprofit that's focused in the high school market, and they have a curriculum and a simulation technology to help students start and run a virtual business in a virtual marketplace with other classes all around the country and actually the world. And then they do a variety of different competitions in order to promote their business. So they do trade show competitions and business plan competitions, et cetera. And so with Virtual Enterprises, what we have done is partnered with them to address a couple of issues that students were having as they were learning how to start and run a business. So first and foremost, what we noticed as individuals who either had children who are part of that program, or we've been judges and part of their competitions, is inevitably the students always wanted to jump right to the solution. So they would start the year, it's a full year program, they would start the year and the teacher would say, what kind of business do we want to start? And they would start throwing out ideas, I want to start a sports apparel company or whatever their idea might be, rather than starting with what's the actual problem that we want to try to solve. And so that was really a gap that Virtual Enterprises also noticed. So what we've done is we've integrated in our design thinking process, Design for Delight, on the front end of their curriculum. So now students start out the year first by thinking about what kind of problems are we interested in, whether they're social problems or other types of problems, and that's where they start. And then they spend a lot of time kind of focusing on customer empathy and going out and actually talking to individuals who have the problem that they're trying to solve before they start thinking about how they want to solve it. So that was one way that we've worked with them. And then the other way is when it came to actually managing the finances of their business, they were doing so basically on spreadsheets. And so we have now integrated in our QuickBooks product into that curriculum as well. So now students not only have a more efficient way of managing their finances, but then they're also learning a real world tool that they can actually use beyond their time in high school and when it's being applied in college, beyond college. So that's one example of how we're doing that. So now, okay, when we start thinking about problems that startups have, so everyone knows about the high failure rate of startups. Well, there's a couple of primary drivers of why startups ultimately fail. And that is a lack of an understanding by the business owner on basic financial literacy skills, as well as basic understanding of cash flow management. In fact, with financial literacy, over 80% of business owners tend to be responsible for managing their business's finances, although only 40%, studies will show, actually consider themselves financially literate, which is related to the fact that when it comes to cash flow management, that's cited as in over 80% of the cases of why businesses fail, just a lack of understanding on how to manage cash flow. So this is a big problem and a big contributor to why small businesses never make it out of the first couple of years. So seeing that as a big challenge, both NACCE and Intuit have decided to work together to try to address that particular challenge. And the way that we're going to do that is we're partnering together to create a new curriculum that is all around developing financial management curriculum and resources for educators to use with their students. And the process that we're going to use to go about creating that new curriculum is to actually partner with members of NACCE who can apply to be part of the project to help develop the curriculum itself and supporting resources. And then, or if you want to be involved in simply being a pilot school or by providing your own input as it relates to this particular topic, you can be a part of it that way. But we're excited to kind of announce that new partnership here. We'll be talking more about it at the Intuit session that's coming up at 9:45. You can also stop by our booth if you have questions about it, or you can be on the lookout for information coming from NACCE in the next couple of weeks. But we're really excited about this. We think it can make a real difference, and we want to invite you to participate. So thank you.
Well, thank you, David, so much. So I know we had so much good content. We are going to start the breakout sessions in 10 minutes. So we'll go start 10 minutes and then we'll go 10 minutes later. But we're just thrilled with Intuit in this announcement. Thank you for investing money in this. It goes back to our members serving members. So I want to thank everybody. Let's celebrate our speakers and get 10 minutes and then get to your breakout sessions. Thank you.